All right, welcome to Fulham Fix. Ivan, it's a special one.
Yes.
This week. There is no player from Fulham's history. There is no current member of the squad. But we do have Dave Kidd joining us. How you doing, Dave?
I'm great, mate. Nice to see you.
Lovely to see you.
Nice to be at the home of football.
Come on.
Match day,
the home of football.
It's lovely.
That's a good start. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover the 2000-2001 season in its entirety, or what we can of it, in this one episode, because we've got Tigana and quite a lot of a squad come in 2 days' time when we record to live that. So when is that? 25, 26? Yeah, is it 25 years?
25
years since it happened. And we'll throw to you first, Dave, but in my memory, obviously we've had slightly more successful seasons. We've had some squads and teams that have meant a little bit more to me or I've had a close affinity with. But in terms of the football that Fulham have played, this is the best the Fulham team have ever been in modern history, wouldn't you say, this squad?
Yeah, comparatively to the division they were in. I mean, they just walked it, and in style. I think Silver's team of 5 years ago wasn't far off, but this was better, and I think it was the first promotion to the top flight in my lifetime, and I was already well into my 20s by then. I've been coming over here for 20 years before this season we're talking about, and I never would have imagined seeing Fulham in the top flight.
Yeah, well, Fulham hadn't been in the top flight since the 60s.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So, that's a real big thing I want to get over straight away, is that for many kids now, Fulham being in the Premier League is just a regulation thing. Yeah. But at that time, Fulham getting promoted to the Premier League, it was such a seismic, emotional thing to see Fulham promoted to the top flight. So from my personal perspective, I remember being like, how old have I been, 15, 16, and seeing grown men cry every other week because they couldn't believe what they were seeing. And only 6 years previous, Fulham had been threatened for their existence. So it's hard to really get across what a big deal this season was in terms of the history of Fulham.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and we'd had 2 promotions in the previous 4 or 5 seasons.
Yeah.
The first one, I think, meant a lot. You talk about teams that mean a lot to you. The 96-97 team meant a hell of a lot to me.
Right.
Because I'd watched 15 years of rubbish. And that team was before any money came into the club. They were promoted, but they were an obdurate, hard. In fact, they used to do to. Big northern teams came down here in the 80s and early 90s and beat us up. And then that team went up north and started beating teams up. I was talking to Simon Morgan about it just the other week, and talking about a game at Darlington where a few legs were possibly even broken or bruised, and Fulham won. That team battled their way out. They meant a lot to us. Then we get the team that got promoted from the 3rd tier, all the names of the divisions have changed, which is really helpful. The 2nd division to the 1st division, the League 1 to Championship, new money.
Yeah.
That was Kevin Keegan's team. That team, it just felt like they had so much money comparatively to the rest of the league, and they won it comfortably, but they didn't play silky football. I think Chris Coleman scored double figures of headers from corners in one league campaign. And Kit Simons better Kit recently. Kit wasn't far behind him.
Yeah.
The amount of goals we scored from corners that season was like Arsenal this season in the Premier League. This season it was. I don't think it was completely expected. I don't think we expected to win the league that season. We obviously were. We'd have had one of the biggest budgets in the league, but we weren't expected to walk it like Keegan's team. And we played wonderful liquid football.
We really did.
It was great to see, and that's what made it so special. I think all the stars aligned, and everything about it. You win your first 11 games as well, and then
it's a good omen, isn't it?
It's a good start.
Win 11 games in a row to start with. Obviously, a big part of this is down to the manager coming in. What's your memories of bringing him in? I mean, there were rumours possibly that we had approached Cantona. Maybe.
I don't remember that.
You've not heard that?
Tigana had been rumoured for a few weeks before it came about, and I remember being a young journalist at the time and being slightly sceptical about it, but and then finding out, it was bang on. I remember Tigana. I would have been 10 years old in 1984, watching the European Championships, which Ireland didn't qualify for. But you're 10 and there's a tournament on, and the French team won it. They hosted it and won it. And with Platini and Tigana, Alain Giresse, Fernandez with the midfield quartet was legendary. Platini was obviously the icon of that team, but Tigana was the next one down. He was a wonderful footballer, sort of pretty energetic, box-to-box sort of midfield player. really talented, as you'd imagine. Having watched his team, you can imagine what sort of player he was like. And I think the team we had that season, they were silky, but they also worked very hard. They were a very energetic, very fit team. I mean, he famously came in, and very much like Wenger at Arsenal, came in and brought in a huge amount of what seemed quite newfangled attention to fitness and detail. That at the time was very new. I mean, you speak to someone like Chris Coleman, who, had hollow legs really, like to bury. He would admit that himself when Tigana came into the club. There were some of the festivities, were kind of put to one side.
We definitely had some stories sort of pre Tigana and some secret ones post Tigana.
Well, yes,
we tried to
keep it under the radar,
under the wraps.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, I'm very glad you brought up the change of methods that Tigana immediately brought in, because we got Lee Clark talking about exactly that here.
This guy Tigana opened our eyes, because when we heard he was coming in was when Karl-Heinz Riedler and Roy Evans took over temporary. And then we found out Jean was coming in, and our holiday plans were cut short because he brought us back for pre-season in June, which hadn't been thought of. We were doing 3 sessions a day, 6 a.m, 10 a.m, and 3 p.m. And we were we thought actually that he wouldn't give any time to us.
Sorry, did you say 6 a.m?
6 a.m, yeah. We used
in
to train.
training?
We trained. We used to go for a 5K run at 6 a.m. under Tigana, and then do a football session in the 10 o'clock session, and at 3 a physical session with Roger Propos, our fitness coach.
We've heard a lot about him.
Everyone was frightened of Rog, to be fair.
A legend, a bit of a myth.
Rog could tell if you'd put weight on just by grabbing your cheek. So if he's seen us now, we'd be absolutely distraught.
How did everyone take to that sudden?
We thought that he wouldn't want the British core, and it was actually the opposite. He loved the British lads' mentality of never giving up. Given absolutely everything. So likes of myself and Kit Simons, Chris Coleman, Sean Davis, Barry Hayles, those lads, Andy Melville, the Steve Finnan, Rufus, all these guys. What he done is he just took it to a new level, because I considered myself to have high fitness levels in terms of the ground I covered during my career, but he just took us to a new, and took me personally to a new level. And
really?
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember, some of the games we played, the way we used to just pop the ball, but because we were so fit, we just were relentless with it.
Oh, what a legend. What a hero. What a great player. It wasn't quite as much of a shock to the system, though, for Bjarne Goldbaek, though, as he endured some intense training sessions in Germany earlier in his career.
We were training so hard, and it was very new for the English players, not for me, because I've been playing in the Bundesliga before. And in training camp, you were used to train 3 times a day. But the English players, they thought it was a joke when he put three training sessions on the board. So the first morning, not all of them came up.
Was that a huge difference between Bracewell and Tigana? Huge difference in intensity.
In everything. Intensity, level. It was so much more professional. There was a respect and aura around Tigana. He was not speaking very good English, but there was a respect around him as well. And he just persuaded the players from the beginning to play a different style of football. And he said, if it's not working, it's my fault. So just go and do it. It's my risk. It's my fault. And all of a sudden, we played a different style of football. Of course, he had some good signings coming in as well, like Louis Saha and John Collins and Louis Beaumorte. So of course, we were a better team, but the main thing was the new coach.
Okay, so Bjarne was he was moulded already into being that sort of player. I've got to be honest, even I was worried for Barry Hayles that he might not be a Tigana-style player. Here's Barry talking about himself.
Come from non-league, he's probably thinking, he's not my style of player. And then I remember having a meeting with him, and he said to me, I like you, I like you, but you're always fighting. You're always fighting in there. And I said, if you know the league, you're going to know that. And then he said, but let's fight it. I said, I can't guarantee it.
I can't guarantee it. Especially after a few drinks.
Yeah, and then I don't remember Louis saying to me, I've learned stuff from you, how to hold the ball up and how to get my body and position myself and fight with players and that. So I said to the guy, well, at least I've helped one teammates and that. And he said to me, no, you help me because you take the fight And then I realised, I get my body. So that's how it worked. I totally agree with
it. You bought like another element to that whole style as well.
Yeah,
It's one thing playing this sort of beautiful, fast play, attacking game, but then to have that strength as well.
Yeah.
Or the Barry Barge as
Barry Barge.
Yeah, it's affectionately,
the Barry Barge.
The Barry Barge.
I've been coming up with calling Barry an actual boat there on the podcast.
But shout out to his French accent as well. I don't remember him doing the French accent as well when doing Tigana there, which was lovely. But that's the thing. I don't think, like you said, you were worried for him there. But I think we all were, because it was...
He's a carpenter, isn't he, Barry, is by trade, and when he played non-league, so he could build his own trophy cabinet, which come in handy, I think.
Still playing, still winning.
He was
trophies.
up front a year before with a bricklayer, with Jeff Horsfield, and we just got rid of Jeff, which was actually almost borderline controversial, because Horsfield for England was the thing at that time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So when you think of that team, I will get into the game specifically in a second, Dave. What style? Obviously, you've mentioned before there that they were maybe into Ghana's playing image a little bit, that midfield four, that diamond shape, and that kind of thing. How would you describe how they played?
My memory of it was rapid passing, really good passing, but at a really high tempo. Because I think if you just tried to pass it around and play pretty football, didn't have the tempo and the muscularity as well that Barry was talking about, then I don't think it would have succeeded. In what we call the Championship was the first division, then the second tier of English football. You're not going to get out of it. You're not going to waltz to the title just by playing pretty football. And it was the intensity of it that really... That really struck me.
Because it's sort of direct now. Because when you talk about beautiful football, we think of it now as kind of maybe quite slow and a steady music. But it was direct, wasn't it? It was visceral.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic.
And the fitness thing was so important as well. I think that, and they've said a number of times, we were just fitter than any other team in that league. Yeah. Where they could go fast for maybe 60 minutes, we were going to the 90th minute and we could keep going. And
you've got guys, Clark, he said it there. I've spoken to Coleman about it a few times, that these guys, they worked hard. They like Clarkey was a player who was a box to box. He put his heart and soul into it, but they didn't have the peak fitness that sort of Goldbaek's talking about. Bundesliga, we were very much behind the times in English football. Wenger had just come in and revolutionised it.
Yeah,
and Tigana came in just after him, really, and it was these players. They always worked hard. They didn't have absolute elite fitness. They didn't even realise they didn't have it.
Yeah.
Until they had it.
Totally. And but there was really that sense when we're playing those teams, like as crew, what happened the first game of the season we'll get into, whereas like we're not only going to be better than you, but we're going to be stronger than you, fitter than you. And in those last 10 minutes, the team just ran out of gas, didn't they? And we steamrolled them.
Yeah, that's right.
I want to read out the team for that first day of the season because it will give you shivers just even reading this out against Crew Alexandra.
I might be able to do.
Do you want to give it a go?
Oh, I'll try.
That would be impressive.
Mike Taylor.
Mike Taylor, correct. Who's playing right back?
Steve Finnan.
Correct. Champions League winner.
Chris Coleman.
Correct.
Andy Melville.
Correct.
Rich Brevitt.
Yes, thank you very much.
John Collins played the first game, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah.
Come on, Dave.
Clarkey.
Yeah, Lee Clark's playing, behind the front two. Two midfielders. You'll get one of them. We just heard from one.
Bjarne Goldbaek, then.
Correct.
Yeah. And then...
I'll be amazed if you get the other one.
Zaha obviously played.
Yeah.
Did Barry Hayles or Lewis Burmorty play one or the other?
Burmorty will give you half a point. Who is the fourth in that midfield diamond? He didn't play a lot for the rest of the season.
It wasn't Sean Davis then, no?
No, it wasn't.
It's not the American David Beckham. Yes. Well, he signed that summer, so yeah.
Have you got a name for him?
Eddie Lewis.
Yes! He's got Eddie Lewis!
He was the American David Beckham. I think he could take a free kick, couldn't he?
Yeah.
Can
I quickly tell you an Eddie Lewis story of mine?
Yeah. I haven't got any Eddie Lewis
There's
stories.
a massive so he played left-hand side of midfield, Eddie Lewis, and he came quite highly rated at the time, as most players did, because a lot of players were making drops down divisions for more money, etc., etc. I met really randomly as a teenager a massive Fulham fan called Dawn Dunlop, who still supports Fulham to this day, works in radio. And we got in a chat, and I was like, big Fulham. And in those days, again, you probably won't like realise this now as a young person, but there weren't many Fulham fans around. So if you supported Fulham, that was a night. That was 4 hours of just you and this person were tight. Yeah. So we had a couple hours chat, and she was like, "Oh, I've got Eddie Lewis's email address." Right. It was before email was even massively a thing. I was like, "Oh, can I have it?" She said, "Sure." And I had correspondency through this whole season with Eddie Lewis. Well, I was emailing him
during this season,
and he was emailing me back. And we used to have.
Was his email
much.
American David Beckham at like Yahoo? So like AOL.com.
Yeah, like he and he had a tough season.
he didn't play much.
He didn't play much, and people were getting at him.
We
and
had time to email you.
I would write. I would write to him saying, "Mate, don't worry about it. Keep your head up."
Don't worry. That's going to mean the world to him. 15-year-old Felix.
But he would write back saying the thing that gets on my nerves is that sometimes Fabrice Fernandes is the laziest player on the pitch, but he doesn't get any stick.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, I know, mate. I'm with you.
I feel your pain.
Fernandes was, and of course he played quite a lot that season. He was he's probably an exception to the working hard, because he was a talented boy who didn't probably have the real roll your sleeves up mentality.
Let's talk about him for a second, because he's a lost name in Fulham's history, Fabrice Fernandes, because he scores goals. We'll get on this a bit later, but the United game in the FA Cup, he scores free kick. He was the creative spark in this midfield. And he was just, what happened with him? He was just sort of...
He certainly fell out with Tigana at one point, didn't he? And by all accounts, it was that, from memory, that he maybe didn't have quite the work ethic that a lot of these guys did in that team. But and maybe I think was also already seeking a transfer somewhere bigger. I've got a feeling
he went to Rangers.
Yeah,
where
I don't think he necessarily got the biggest transfer.
No,
I was going to say,
but he felt like that guy, didn't he?
I think he did.
Yeah. So Crew Alexandra, do you remember anything about that day?
Yeah, I was there. I was in the press box, and I remember distinctly the front page of the programme, and it said kick-off 3 p.m. sharp, and I thought, and that stuck with me. It was like we're gonna do this business as briskly as we can. It was a beautiful sunny day.
Yeah, we want to get the 5:30 train home.
The pitch didn't always look like this.
No.
In fact, the first time I remember the pitch looking like this, looking like it does in the modern age, was that game.
Really?
Pitches, it was around the time when pitches in general were becoming like billiard tables.
Yeah.
They weren't quite mud baths in the late 90s, but they weren't looking great. The pitch looked immaculate. There were sprinklers, the sun was out. Tigana, one of the great legends of European football, was in the dugout. Louis Saha and John Collins. I think John Collins was a signing that really shook me more than Saha when it was made. Collins had won a European trophy at Monaco. He'd captained the Scotland team that should have beaten Brazil at the previous World Cup.
Yeah.
He was a hell of a player.
Yeah.
Saha had a brief spell at Newcastle and not been successful, so we weren't quite sure what to make of him. He was still young, and as soon as we saw the Crew game, we realised, this is a player.
This was it. People were almost a bit cynical, and the jury was out on him probably for about 45 minutes until they could see what he was actually about.
I think it was second half, his front of the hammy end definitely where he scored. He ran clear and scored. But And was that the first or the second goal? You have to remind me. But
second goal,
2-0 win.
But, it was 25
I
years
mean, Barry Hayles who got the first, was it? No,
he came off the bench and
Barry
scored.
Hayles scored.
Great memory, Dave.
Yeah, but it was that game does stick with me. It was, you just felt it. Even though a 2-0 win against Crew was not in itself an astonishing result, it was everything about that day felt like we mean business here. We look a really good side.
Yeah, also easy to forget, but there's 8 players in that starting 11 that had been playing under Bracewell.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a huge turnover of names.
The following summer after promotion, there was a lot of players came in. It was very much Saha and Collins in my memory.
Yeah,
were the signings that summer that made you think, we mean business.
The other beautiful thing that you see across the course of that season is obviously it looks like the old Craven Cottage in terms of all the terracing and stuff like that. And at the start of the season, it isn't full.
No.
Like there's a lot of space. And I remember it being a lot of space. And as we gather momentum, more and more people come to Fulham and the terrace is getting full.
Yeah.
So you really feel like you're watching old Fulham transition into modern Fulham across that season as well.
I doubt,
Yeah.
I think although that was a fantastic game, it was the Birmingham game that a lot of people said was possibly one of the best displays of football that season, and the one where we really set it up, because they were also and I think they were also touted as being one of the big teams to watch as well in that league. And again, we absolutely run the show. Do you?
We were 3-1 up at half time, I think, in that game. Or I think we scored all 3 of our goals in the first half.
Bulldozing.
And it was a quick start, and we won it comfortably. And they were a side who I think had probably just come down from the in the Premier League not long before. They're a big club.
Yeah.
As opposed to Crewe in the first game of the season. So yeah, that was definitely a statement win at Birmingham.
Yeah, Trevor Francis actually says that Fulham were the best away team he's seen in 5 years at Birmingham, and that's Trevor Francis' huge name at that time. So he sort of knew, didn't he? Like, we've just been absolutely bulldozed by Fulham. Jeff has put together some quotes from other opposition managers from the 11-game winning streak.
Yeah, 11 games.
Do you want to run through them quickly? One at a time.
So Dave Bassett of Barnsley, after Fulham win 5-0, it was deck chairs and cigars. That was his quote.
That's how good we were. And David Platt, after we beat Forest 3-0, David Platt in charge of Forest, great time.
At the City Ground, I think, early on. Yeah,
great memory, Dave. He said they could stay on top all season and are absolutely certain to get automatic promotion. And that's David Platt speaking. So
David Platt, brilliant, isn't it? I want to make sure I get this pronunciation right. This surname here. Hessenthal.
Yeah, but the massive Hessenthal, yeah.
Hessenthal. All right, so Andy Hessenthal, after the 3-0 with Gillingham, I think a lot of Premiership sides would struggle to get anything out of a game played here.
Allardyce, in charge of Bolton, said on that performance, Fulham looked like champions already.
Yeah, we even got a nice quote from the lovely Graham Souness.
He's always nice about us.
Oh, loves us. After we beat them here 2-1. What Tigana'S has done with his Fulham side is unbelievable. Compared to the team we played here last year, they are streets ahead.
This is my favourite one because Alan Smith, who was in charge of Crystal Palace, is a huge Fulham fan. Famously, and was a scout at Fulham. He said Johnny Haynes would be proud of them. I can't see anyone stopping them. Beautiful.
That was 11 games in.
Yeah. That was a big quote from Smithy because he'd grown up watching Johnny Haynes as well. And Souness, by the way, he's a diamond of a man, and we as Fulham fans are supposed to dislike him. I sort of know him pretty well, and one of the great men of British football history, really. And he became unpopular with us as Fulham fans that season.
Yeah,
but if Souness is giving you street cred, then giving you credit, then you're onto something good.
You're doing something right.
He knows his onions.
Yeah, maybe we should get back to Souness a bit later, but thank you for putting that straight a little bit because he became emblematic
figure,
of a sort of old guard against Fulham sort of thing, didn't he?
Yeah. Perhaps.
Yeah.
We had
I'm excited about the League Cup. We're getting into League Cup.
Oh yeah, well yeah. I mean, there was a little blip though. We had a couple of draws and a loss, which was slightly out of character at some point. But I suppose we wanted to maybe just give the other teams a chance around us, and but then we went and then smashed it on the run up to Christmas, and then onto some League Cup exploits where we knocked out top flight Derby. And then obviously we go on to lose at Anfield. But let's talk a little bit about the cup run.
Yeah, well, I want to talk about Anfield because that was one of my first proper away trips, and the club used to do coach journeys from the cottage to Anfield.
Subsidised as well, wasn't it? I believe that was a new thing that season.
Yeah. And you could get on the coach like as a teenager sort of thing with all the old guard Fulham fans and go up there. And I remember that Liverpool game so clearly because it wasn't so long ago that Fulham had been beaten 10-0 in the late 80s and
mid-80s,
on aggregate Robbie Fowler's first goal at 8-1 or something in the early 90s or something like that. So for the old guard Fulham fans to be at Anfield and have a chance in that game was just really was a significant moment in Fulham's history. Do you remember you at that game?
I wasn't at the game, no, and It clearly wasn't the one when Pescaslido scored.
No.
We played there because Pescaslido were gone by then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That was just before. Yeah,
beautiful goal though.
It was a beautiful goal.
Yeah, absolutely lovely.
I remember that better. But yeah. I don't remember too much about the cup runs that season. I know the FA Cup finished.
The United.
Old Trafford, against Man United with the Fernandes goal. But yeah. Did we go there and get beat 3-0?
It was 0-0.
Yeah,
it was 0-0.
Extra time.
They scored 3 times in extra time.
Yeah.
And I remember consoling a man much older than me, maybe 20 years older.
On email.
Don't
worry, man.
Eddie Lewis.
Sorry, I'm just emailing Eddie Lewis, mate. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Telling him he was saying, I just really thought it was going to be our year this year. He just
mate, what did you say to him?
Yeah. A League Cup, was it quarter-final League Cup though?
Yeah,
it was quarter-final. Yeah.
So we all that's how we felt this year. Newcastle and almost every single season. Actually,
it doesn't change.
Actually, that poor guy is still going through it now. I have to give.
You're gonna have to drop him an email without a doubt. Without a doubt. We had a 3-1 win at West Brom. Sean Davis which shout out to Sean Davis at this point. Obviously, he's been playing since the academy. He's come through. Yeah. He's playing the football of his life at this point. He'd been caught in the week going out, but started the game and went on and scored 2. One was an absolute worldie. He's described that as sliding doors moments of his season, but I think it's important to mention him this season because he really came into his own, didn't he?
He sort of famously played in all 4 divisions, the rise up the leagues, but he didn't play huge. I think this was the first season he became really, really regular.
Oh, absolutely,
and we know how it ends. He would part with him, obviously, but throughout that season, I think he was a childhood Chelsea fan, to be honest, but he was one of us.
We'll bleep that.
He came through the Fulham Academy, one of our own. We hadn't had very many academy players coming through in recent years. Not that we're any good.
No,
I don't think. Sean was the club was being transformed, and some big signings. So by our standards, really big signings were coming in. Big money, and Sean was the sort of the beating heart of the club.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was the homegrown boy, made good, and throughout that season he was starting to look a serious player, wasn't he?
It's an interesting one actually with Sean because he'd even been in Mickey Adams's squads. Yeah. But Mickey, maybe because he was a bit too young, but Mickey, Ray Wilkins, Kevin Keegan, they'd all not exactly trusted him at lower levels of football to play regularly. But Tigana has this instinct about Sean, which is kind of an amazing pivotal moment, isn't it? Because he would have had every right to pick a name and put him in there, but Sean was playing all year.
Yeah, that's right. And obviously the way Barry Hayles talks about his own experiences as a former non-league player and a lower league, he was a goal machine in the lower leagues, but he was a bit of a lower league journeyman. You would have, from the outside, you'd have thought Louis wouldn't be having Barry Hayles. Barry Hayles didn't think Louis would be having Barry Hayles, but he did. So he's that's one of the keys to Tigana's success was that he took players on merit, and instinct, and like you say, with Sean, that was very much the case because Sean wouldn't have been really, really young. He'd have probably been chomping at the bit for 2 or 3 years to play regularly.
Definitely.
He definitely played in the Mickey Adams promotion season, but probably once or twice.
Yeah.
And him, a little mention quickly, Simon Morgan, like him and Sean Davis were just quite important threads in those squads that combined the early years of Fulham.
I mean, Morgan is immense in the Fulham story from the very lowest of the lows. Up until, literally playing in the promotion run-in once, having been injured a lot of that season. But Morgs, talk about beating hearts of a club. Morgs was the beating heart of his club for 10 years throughout the very darkest days and up again.
100%. Yeah. Actually, that's quite. Sorry, go on.
I was going to mention. I was watching back some of the highlights yesterday of the season. Sean Davis. He scored a couple of free kicks, couple of games in a row, but proper cheeky ones. As had a you can see him just have a little word with the ref, going, "I'm all right to take it now." And as the keeper's lining up his wall, he just dinks it in, and then does it again like the week or two later. I'm just
you get away with that
straight away. Exactly, how do you? Unbelievable. And as I say, we know what he went on to do, but the goals he scored.
There's an essence of his character in that, isn't it? Sort of mischievous.
There's a bit of naughtiness to it, but you know what I mean.
Right,
if you're not going to let me go out and party, I'm going to do some naughty stuff on the pitch. I'm going to take the mick here.
Yeah,
but
brilliant.
Oh, it was brilliant.
Dave, you were mentioning beating hearts of Fulham on the pitch, certainly, and at that time, Chris Coleman was, the figure. And we're getting now to sort of Christmas time or early January where Chris has his accident, the traffic light, which comes completely out of nowhere. And it does feel like at Fulham things are going a little bit too well.
Yeah.
And this really tragic real life incident happens. How do you remember that? Because would you have been covering it at that time? Was that something really sensitive?
I already knew Chris reasonably well by then, and the season was going so well. He was the captain. I was with Simon Morgan recently, and he said about how when the takeover had happened and when they started bringing in Coleman and Pesky Salido with the first big money signings, £1 million, £2 million signings back in a couple of seasons earlier than this.
Yeah,
that Coleman, unlike some of the other players who came in around that time, really melded the old guard who'd been in the Mickey Adams team, and Coleman was brilliant like that. He was a big name at that point at Fulham, a big money signing. He played top flight football, but there was no airs and graces about him. He's just a thoroughly good bloke. He's a party. He was probably still is a bit of a party animal. A great voice in the in the dressing room and on socials and very much on the pitch. As I said, he scored double figures, I'm sure, from set pieces, headed goals from set pieces in the previous promotion season. He deserved to be captain in the team when they got to the Premier League. It was his project. He came in the third. He went down from the top flight to, I think, from Blackburn.
Yeah, I think it was.
To the third flight for £2 million, and he's
a lot of money at that time.
Yeah, so it was. Yeah, and his mission was to get Fulham in the Premier League, and it was in 3 years' time we were, and 2.5 years he was leading from the front, leading for central defence. But he was a roll up your sleeves. He's a big unit, a decent footballer as well. And so it was horrible that with Fulham flying and almost certain, it was Christmas. We were between Christmas and New Year.
It was after Christmas in the New Year.
I mean, for it to happen then, we were almost, you'd say, on the brink of promotion, even though it's December.
Yeah.
And it was really sad. What happened? It was a car crash. It was a serious car crash. I think it's usable. I went to interview him when he was manager of Real Sociedad just after he'd left Fulham as manager, and I had to fly to Bilbao, which is an hour away, and he came and picked me up, which was very good of him as a top flight manager. Whatever. Sociedad were in the second flight. Anyway. And he drives quite quick, and he's going, kiddo, he says, you're a nervous passenger.
Right, yeah.
And I said, Chris, I am a nervous passenger, mate. I said, but I remember how your playing career finished.
Yeah.
And he was very much, and then he started laughing so heartily at that, we almost came off the road. I don't know if he was the best driver, but he's a hell of a defender.
Better footballer than he was driver.
Hell of a defender and a hell of a captain.
Yeah, he definitely was. Joe, we were lucky enough to have him again on the podcast, and when he spoke about that, it was very emotional. And he spoke, and he did say that there is a point where he sort of said, there's no way I was getting through this if it wasn't for the club, if it wasn't for the fans and their response and how supportive the club was. So
we've only been about 29 or 30, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he was young.
And he's about to get back into the Premier League. He'd have played in the Premier League. He was absolutely good enough.
I know.
And so it really was a tragic incident.
I think of all my memories as a player or the manager, it was that moment, is in that time when I was like so low depth of despair, because I thought my career is going to be done. All I wanted to do was play football. I was only 30. I was in my prime, and it was my own fault. I took it away from myself in the end. But the Fulham fans and the people around the club, I'll never forget the response that basically carried me through, a time where I was like, really, I don't think I've ever been depressed in my life, but I was definitely depressed at that time.
Did you know, as soon as the car crash happened, did you feel, that's bad?
Yeah, it was pretty brutal. Yeah, it was at one point they were going to amputate my leg, so that was a little bit, and then it was pretty brutal. But I was, again, I talked about Roger Propus, John Tigana'S fitness guy, who was an absolute brute. Yeah, his regime was on the brink of brutality, right?
Yeah.
It was, but if he hadn't been there and put me through what he put me through, I probably wouldn't be like living a normal life, walking normally. Like I get problems from my hips or my knees, but that's not because of the car crash. It's just like every day and 15 years of playing professional football is the wear and tear. So without him, Roger Propus, and what he put me through, he was like, he was brutal. He was unbelievable. But thankfully, he was that guy, the fitness guy. That time I had the car crash, and the medical team. There was Alex Court, who was a girl here at the time, was a physical.
Yeah, I remember that name.
Course, yeah, she was brilliant. Because Roger used to hit me, and Alex would be talking to me all the time, because she spent a lot of time with me 1v1 every day, doing my warm-ups and things like that, and she'd be in my ear, Alex, super positive girl. She was brilliant. And I haven't seen Alex for years and years. She's married now with a family, but she was absolutely vital for me, because in the position I was, where it was touch and go whether I play or not, probably I'm not going to play, but I wanted to try.
Yeah.
And she was every day with me, super positive. And then there was a team of physios at the time. Jason Palmer, who was the head physio, Australian boy. And he had all his physios, and they were brilliant with me. I was so lucky to be here when that happened.
Yeah,
I could have been at
sounds
some,
like-
and because if I was at another club that didn't have, we had really good facilities at the time.
Yeah.
You know, we were in front in the medical team with the sports science and with Jean Tigana'S out saw the future of Fulham Football Club, and I was just lucky. And Tigana'S said to me, "If you don't make it back," he said, "you're going to be a coach. I'll put you with the 9s, the 10s, the 11s. Every month you jump an age, and after you've done the 16s, you're going to come with me and be on my." And I was like, oh, Jesus, you know.
I mean, how lucky was he, I suppose, to have, I mean, obviously no luck really, but to have had the accident at a time when we were going through this change and when fitness was such a big part, and this team had come in that was, you know, groundbreaking at the time and so supportive of him as well is unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, I remember him saying to me about potential amputation. That's when, you know, I remember him saying that not that long after. It was that shocked me. Having, you know, you'd heard it was a bad crash, but that was genuine, you know. But the club, I mean, he got under the skin of the club, hadn't he? He said it'd been 2.5 years before the accident, but he was just one of those players who just got the club, but everyone got him, and you know, and Tigana was as good as his word. He carried on coaching, and he ends up succeeding. Tigana was the youngest Premier League manager in history. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say that's a fairy tale aspect to it a little bit. It's Tigana is part of the rehabilitation of Coleman, and then Coleman becomes the predecessor, and and then ends up doing a really good job actually in Premier League with Fulham.
I think he came out and played one game for Wales as a substitute, didn't he?
That's right, yeah.
I don't think he played for Fulham again, did he?
No, I saw him in the reserves, I think, playing at Woking, against Woking, I think, briefly, but I don't think he broke through again.
So anyway, that same week, I believe it is, we've drawn Man United in the third round of the FA Cup, which is a mad tie given that we're flying United atop of the Premier League at that time. You could, like, a beautiful tie to draw. And I think I might have got this wrong. Jeff might correct me, but I think I remember Chris walking out in a tunnel just on crutches and waving. So was that later on?
Did happen, but later.
Was it later?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so that was later on. I've misremembered that, but it's an emotionally sort of volatile moment to be playing Manchester United at Cottage.
Yeah, it was weird, wasn't it?
Remember,
Just days after
it.
accident,
But also for people that we're used to having United here all the time. But then it was Cottage was terraces. It felt very small.
I'd never seen United play here, and I've been coming here 20 years. Yeah.
Right.
Was it? So it was your first time that?
Yeah, Liverpool had played us a couple of times in that time. We hadn't played United.
No.
It was almost psychedelic having, because it was Beckham, Keane, Giggs, the Nevilles.
It was the year after
Nicky Butt.
2 years after the treble season.
Yeah, Solskjaer was in the team. Yeah.
Dwight York? Is it Dwight
Dwight
York
York was playing in that team? Yeah.
That sounds right. I mean, you know, we're going for the treble. It's not going to be far off the treble team of '99, is it?
And they felt like, I remember it because I used to stand and I used to be in the Johnny Haynes end where you stood the end that Fulham attacked and then go to the other end.
Yeah.
But when the United players come in to take the ball for throwing, it was like having Hollywood film stars that you can almost like reach out and touch in front of you. A really incredible experience. And in that game, we actually give them a good game.
We did.
Really good game.
We go 1-0 down.
We went one down and the Fernandes free kick and the equaliser. Yeah.
And it's a retaken free kick in it, Jeff, or something.
It knows that old rule where if you dissented or you didn't get your 10 yards, the referee would give you 10 yards closer. And I think Keane wouldn't get distance.
I was going to say it was around the time where you could sort of surround the ref, and the Man United players at that time were very good at getting their way.
Yeah, infamous.
And so we got the extra 10 yards, and Fabrice,
don't remember that, but I remember the actual free kick itself.
Yeah, I remember that too.
It was again. You thought again, it's one of those where you thought we're going to be playing these next season and we're going to be getting a good game, which we obviously famously did in the first game up at Old Trafford.
Exactly.
It felt like that day we weren't far off them.
No, we weren't. You wouldn't be playing Man United if they didn't win it at the death back in those days, which they did with Teddy Sheringham scoring.
Yeah.
Teddy,
But a genuinely psychedelic experience.
It was,
Cottage.
and a very complimentary Alex Ferguson, I believe, afterwards as well was very complimentary.
He always was. He was very complimentary when we won there under Coleman about 3 or 4 years later. We won there 3-1 at Old Trafford, and he was incredibly complimentary.
Yeah,
and he obviously took a couple of our best players off of.
Well, I was going to say at that time we didn't realise he was shopping, really, to be honest. But there we go.
Oh, that's good.
Very sweet. Yeah. Never mind. So we continue then. Obviously, into the season. It's the January and March time. Another win at Watford. Heide Helgeson scored the goal by punching the ball in the net. Do you remember that?
Jeff's written that, which he clearly hasn't gotten over. It's 25 years later.
Helgeson's playing for Watford.
Yeah, of course, because he would have played for
He played for us obviously a few years later.
Okay, Jeff.
We beat them 5-0 on Boxing Day.
We did.
That's
I
right.
remember that one.
Yeah, that was a big one.
That was a big game. And then Fulham's first win at Loftus Road in 70 years. And it became habit after
Barely
that.
lost their sense, have we, really?
Oh, I mean, they were our rivals, and now it's.
I mean, I grew up with Brentford as the rivals. We played Brentford.
Right.
To me, Brentford, and there's always this conversation with who are our biggest rivals. To me, it's always Brentford because it always was Brentford.
Yeah.
And we've tended to play them a lot. QPR, we weren't even close to in my childhood and early adulthood, and then suddenly we just shot past them, and I barely remember seeing us lose to QPR. Really.
Yeah.
There was the odd time, I think, occasionally in the Premier League.
There were odd occasions, but the vast majority of times we play QPR, we've beaten them, and they've been wonderfully enjoyable. I don't feel it as much as some do. I don't know. Maybe I'm just like the wrong age.
It's an interesting circumstance.
Maybe because we have always beaten them so well, or quite
it's
often
interesting.
easily.
We used to play Brentford more often in the lower leagues, and now we play Brentford more often. In the Premier
but
League.
they've come up.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if you feel this way, but I think certainly for me when I started watching it was QPR. Like that was our rivals.
Yeah, it did feel like
Chelsea didn't even compete at that point, and Brentford. Yeah, we weren't. We just didn't play them.
We didn't play QPR very much before that season, and then we went from once or twice.
Yeah.
But I mean, Brentford's a team we played all through my late 80s, early 90s. It was always Brentford. Chelsea, I always feel, because Chelsea don't dislike us. Let's face it, really, they don't really. No. So it's not, to me, it's not that real intense rivalry. Brentford and QPR both dislike us.
Yeah,
I dislike both of them. But beating QPR was big that season. I remember the home game here as well. I think we might have beaten them 2-0 home and away that year.
Yeah.
They were relegated by the end. They weren't having a great season.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Yeah, it was a shame. To QPR. Take a moment. So Bjarne Goldbaek has obviously been an important player for us throughout the season already so far. He's won the Bundesliga already in his career.
He's been at Chelsea as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And but in the manner in which we're playing and the way we're dispatching teams, this literally meant that this was his favourite season he's ever taken part in.
I was German champion with Kaiserslautern in one season.
Yeah, Bundesliga.
Yeah, but this one, if I should look back at my career, the most interesting season, because we dominated that much, and it was so big fun to play. And we were just fitter than the other teams as well due to this training of Tigana, and we were technically better than the other teams, and we were just dominating it. It was just big fun. It was not about winning. It was about how we won as well. We won a lot of matches, like 5-0, 4-1, or whatever.
Yeah.
Never a question we will win. And the last 20 minutes of every game, they were knocked out physically, the teams we played against, because we just played around them.
So one of the beatings we gave teams was beating Tranmere 4-1 on Sky TV, Fulham on Sky.
I know.
It was genuine, exciting thing at that time.
Yeah.
In which Louis Saha scores a double, which he did a lot in those days, didn't he? Just let's get into Louis Saha quickly, because you mentioned at the start that he hadn't done much at Newcastle. He was actually playing as a left winger at Metz, wasn't he, at one point?
Yeah.
So when he came to Fulham, it wasn't a particularly big deal that we'd signed him. There wasn't that sense of anticipation.
I had the name and remember him being quite an underwhelming spell at Newcastle, but he must have been very young. So I think he's only about 22, 23 when we signed him.
Right. And was he a big deal to you in particular?
Not until I saw him play for us, but as soon as I did, he was. And my son's middle name's Louis.
That's what I was getting at.
So he is now.
And that was.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. How did that? Did you when it came to naming?
I think his mum liked Louis Theroux as well. So she might have thought it was Louis Theroux.
Right. Okay. I was about to say, if you broached that, we're trying to name your son after a footballer.
It was Louis Saha.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
That's
his
awesome.
middle name. Yeah.
How
does your son feel about it?
He's 21 this month.
Oh, so he would. Okay.
Next week.
Yeah.
And how does he feel about?
He loves it.
Louis?
Yeah. He's
pretty
awesome.
awesome
To get older with me on the Hammersmith end. So
nice.
yeah. He never got to see him play for Fulham. Time he was born, Louis would just about have left. Went to Man United by then, but he was a wonderful player.
He was.
I mean, talking about great strikers. I mean, I grew up with Ivar, and he'd always be very, very special. Mitro was, an animal. I loved him to bits, but Louis was my favourite because a brilliant goal scorer. particularly at championship level, far too good. But it's just he glide across the pitch. He had a burst of pace, wonderful feet. And he could score. He was a big unit, Louis. He was over 6 foot as well.
Yeah.
He talking about Barry. I don't know, Barry Hayles says he taught him to hold up play. Certainly, I can picture him as a Premier League player. He's very, very adept at holding the ball up. So he was quite a complete striker.
Yeah.
No surprise that Ferguson went for him. And unfortunately, his injuries. He was never really injury free for long enough at United or Everton later on. But at Fulham, he was injury free for those two.
We had the right team behind him. That's right. It's proper, isn't it?
But it was the peak of his career. Those 3.5 seasons, I think, at Fulham.
I'm glad you mentioned Barry, because here he is himself talking about playing with Louis.
Minute 1, very first training session.
Yeah.
And I pulled him and said, mate, you need to lay off our back four and that. He was like, I said, mate, you are ripping them up and that, and they need confidence for the weekend. No word of a lie. I said from day one. I said, Louis,
You're going to boost their confidence.
Yeah. We need to keep them levels. Yeah. He was that good from minute 1, the first training session.
Yeah,
and I was like, yeah.
He was like from outer space, wasn't he? I remember that in a championship.
He had it all. 2 good feet, great in the air. He worked on his strength, and that's what. The best player I played with.
Really?
Yeah. Not forward player throughout.
Yeah.
And he always, when it came to penalties as well, you weren't sure if it was left or right he was going for. He had that in his locker, and that as a striker to
he was genuinely 2-footed.
Where do you put him if we talked about maybe Berbatov, Moussa Dembele often talk about the most talented footballers of Fulham. Where would you put Louis in that bracket?
Berbatov, quite a lot of players we've seen, and even before my time here, George Best and Bobby Moores were past their best. And Berbatov was past his best. He was still sublime, always the sublime gifts. But we had Louis. Approaching and at his peak. So there's very few players you think of as being playing for Fulham, and at that time were genuinely close to a world class. Louis was close to world class, and if he'd stayed injury free, United would have been. Well, I think like Polinia, I thought it was world class at what he did.
Totally,
that's a very different skill set. But
totally.
So the top bracket of Fulham players that I've seen playing for Fulham is Saha, Dembele, Polinia.
Yeah. Better than Dirk Lehmann, even.
Dirk, this is the thing. Dirk was only a couple of years before. We love him.
Yeah, he was. Loved Dirk.
This is what maybe made these players so special, is that we were watching Dirk only a couple of years earlier.
Yeah, exactly. So I tried to mention Dirk Lehmann at least once an episode.
Yeah, you've done well today. Slotted in nice.
We've been getting, Dave, it's a really lovely thing of a new series is people with their fan stories about certain players, about the history of Fulham. And we're going to put this one in here because it's, I actually haven't read it, but just put it here. It's a lovely story, I'm told, about Louis Saha. Thank you for getting them in. If you're at this point of the show watching it, you can get in touch at Fulham Fix at fulhamfc.com with your Fulham stories, whatever it might be. We've already had Alex Robin, is Choco Roby's dad?
Yes, we have indeed.
We've got a great one on Terry Angus come in. It's a really good one.
So really
from left field. But this one is on Louis Saha. Dear Felix and Ivan, I have a story to tell you regarding Louis Saha. My father, Bill, was a lifelong Fulham supporter, a local lad who grew up in Fulham, and consequently, I was lucky enough to have been born in Fulham myself. My father was a box holder in the old Riverside stand from 1982 to 2002. This was either through his company or personally after he sold his company. In the early days, we got to know many of the players and their wives. They'd come and sit in the box when it was cold, and most of the players would come into the Riverside stand after the matches. This all changed with time, and a more professional approach was introduced, which stopped the players joining supporters in the bar after matches. My father was having a birthday celebration at his house in Claygate for his 65th birthday. He told me he'd been speaking to the property manager who arranged property maintenance for him. Apparently, he also provided property maintenance services at his house, which was currently being rented by Louis Saha and his then girlfriend. My father said he'd passed an invitation to Louis, that's bold, and his girlfriend's come to the party, and they might come. I, of course, took this with a pinch of salt, as the heady days of spending social time with players was long over. Well, imagine my shock as I pulled up to my father's house, and a BMW Z3 with foreign plates pulled up just in front of me. I immediately abandoned my wife and children and rushed out.
Of course you did.
I rushed out of a car to greet Louis and his girlfriend and usher them into the party. They stayed for about 3 to 4 hours, and we even had Louis playing cricket in the garden.
No.
That's psychedelic. I'm also certain that Louis was not sticking to his dietary regime, as we had him tasting all sorts of traditional British fare, sausage rolls, etc. Sometime later.
Are we sure it was Louis? Just not someone pretending to be.
I mean,
Yeah, go on, keep going. Sorry.
how would you have known? He's not just what Louis Saha impersonator, just turning up to random houses.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Part of
I
the
guess
party,
so.
someone did that. Yeah.
Sometime later, when my father was in hospital recovering from an operation, Louis heard that he was unwell, and he came to visit him and bought him a Fulham shirt which had been signed by all the players. My brother also named his youngest son Louis as a tribute. There we go, there's more of them floating about.
Only the middle name, we say.
I know players are often berated for moving on from the club, and Louis was one of them, but I will not have a word said against him. Not only as he was a mighty fine footballer, he was a mighty fine human being.
Oh
as
my
well.
God.
He was a lovely man. I met him, interviewed him 2 or 3 times, and he was a thoroughly decent bloke.
Yeah.
Really, yeah.
very softly spoken, gentle sort of bloke. For a guy who could really put himself about on the pitch, by the way. He was a really nice fella.
Yeah, what a great story. Because I always like to think about Fulham as that sort of place.
Yeah.
So that's Garfield. Thank you so much, Garfield. That's an amazing story.
So then we move on to April, then one of the most successful months in our history as a football club, which started, like all great months do, with a goalless draw against West Brom.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, and then it was obviously the Blackburn game. And this we talk about Souness again, shall we?
Blackburn game. Yeah, okay. So Souness, who it turns out was, you think's a stand-up. Just
I'm
one of his
fairly friendly with Graham.
one of his consequences in history where he just said the wrong thing at the wrong time to the wrong to a fan base, and we just got
He'd said that Blackburn were a better team that season.
That's right.
Yeah.
I've spoken to him about that, and his recollections were that he was pretty convinced Fulham were the best team that season.
Oh, really?
One of the best, teams he's ever seen, and at that level, probably as good a team he'd ever seen. Yeah.
Well,
I don't think he would stand by that now.
No. There's probably a psychology to say.
Yeah, I imagine he said it during the season.
Wanting
so
the team to soak it up.
he'd have been doing that. Yeah,
We actually have the quote here. Do we want to hear his second quote about Fulham? I admire Fulham because I think they're a good footballing team, but so are we. Up until now, they've proved that they are the best because they're ahead of us in the Championship, but I feel that we've been the best team, certainly in the second half of the season. Now we have to go out and show that on Wednesday.
Do you know what he gives with that comment? It's like, he's actually not said that much that wrong there, but anyway, it gives it an electricity to the game.
Definitely. Yeah.
If you watch that game back now, it's alive, isn't it? That like evening game at Ewa Park.
Again, no, you mentioned earlier in the season we were on Sky TV. We were on Sky that night. I was at home watching it. I was up at Blackburn. And I'd have been working, but I was at home watching it, and just us being on Sky was still a thing then. It was unusual, massive. and you knew it was. If we won that game, we'd win the title, really. And who was sent off?
Rufus Brevett.
I was going to guess that, but I knew we had out of 10.
Well, there's a little note on the card here. Thanks, Jeff, which says Brevett red, which was bull.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that Jeff isn't over on his cards.
I
don't remember.
Thinks a lot about this.
Was it a straight red or 2 yellows?
Straight. He'd already been booked, I think. But it was a straight red for the tiniest little flick on.
He kind of kicks him.
Yes, almost like a Beckham-esque.
Exactly.
Sort
Gives him a little kick.
Yes.
Yeah, because Flitcross pushed him over or something like that. Yeah.
So we then had they had they obviously scored early as well. Saha equalised on the stroke half time, but then obviously the goal that we remember is Sean Davis as well, and that's a few things about that. Obviously, a wonderful goal and such an important goal and absolutely iconic. But Tigana as well. He goes mad as well. You didn't see much of that season.
No, he's a cool dude.
He's such a cool dude. And then to see him go mad running down the touchline.
Yeah,
you're like, he knows, I think, at that point, it's done. Yeah. Right?
And there was a bit, like you say, a bit of needle about it with Souness's words and things like that. And it was, and I take Jeff's word, it was an unfair red card as well. You have a big game like that towards the end of the season and you get a red that you don't feel is right. And then And you go and steal it on the break. It was definitely a breakaway goal.
It was breakaway, yeah. And
I remember the dance more than the goal, really.
Yeah, I think we all do. Yeah, the ball sort of falls loose just at the right moment, doesn't he? Puts it in, but that dance.
It's a lovely finish, though, isn't it?
And it has to be Sean as well. We're talking about the beating heart of Fulham, and someone connects the whole story. Like, it has to be Sean that ball falls to.
It's a bit of a sort of drunken chicken sort of dance.
The dance. I think he'd probably would he call it the drunken chicken? There's actually a lot to it. It's actually got quite the foot movement. Is actually quite.
You're right.
There's something about it.
Sort of dance music, hip hoppy type of dance music. I think.
Yeah, I'd say that's fair enough. I think if you ask him nicely enough now,
it was probably a much better dance than I give it credit for. I've got a bit of chicken.
It was a bit of that, wasn't it?
It was probably
hands were moving, not quite the wings.
Probably better than I remember. Are you going to show a clip of it?
Should we see it? I think we should.
It's Lee Clark for Fulham. Clark's shot gets a deflection, comes to Davis. What a steal! What a steal! That is extraordinary. 90 seconds into stoppage time.
All right, so unsurprisingly, that is Sean's favourite goal he ever scored for Fulham. It's favourite goal pretty much anyone's ever scored for Fulham.
Yeah,
so from a fan perspective. Here he is talking about it.
It changes. Sometimes I like the Sheffield Wednesday goal, but I think as a whole, the whole Blackburn thing, Souness, legend of football, right?
Yeah, because he's
a Blackburn manager.
Yeah.
I think Lee Clark was the one who alerted everyone to the comments he made about Blackburn being the best team in the league.
Yeah.
And Clarkey was fuming, and everyone Clarkey was one of those ones. If you knew he was unhappy, you knew it.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be shy about it, and he was raging in the dressing room. I didn't think nothing of it, to be honest, but it was the worst start to the game ever. I think Barry took one in the eye from David Dunn after about 10 minutes. Then Rufus got sent off. Right. Then we conceded, didn't we? I think who scored the goal? Matt Jansen. Yeah. And I'll never forget going up there. And I always claim that as an assist, Louis Saha's goal, because I backed into the goalie, he falls over, Louis scores, and then he's got the message for Cookie.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then we get in the second half. We were fuming, and I think if we wasn't that fuming, I don't think we would have got the result.
Needed that.
Yeah, but listen, we had 10 men, but I had Lee Clark and John Collins in front of me. They don't give the ball away.
No,
they don't give the ball away. Louis Saha is always going to be a threat.
Yeah.
And the back four, they were old and wise.
Yeah,
man.
Didn't have many legs. That's why they used to. I played in front of, obviously Cookie weren't playing at the time, so it was Mel and Kit. They pull me in, Kit, come here. But you understood that was what we had to do to win.
Yeah.
So to score that goal was just amazing. But then we stayed up, didn't we? Because we had Huddersfield, I think, on the Wednesday or Tuesday. Yeah, it was celebration.
Were you partying in that?
We weren't supposed to. The gaffer said to us, Tigana said to us, Bolton are playing. Do you want to get on the coach and go and watch?
Yeah.
So all the players went, yeah, we'll go and watch. So, and we had literally...
to the game?
To the game. We was in the actual box at Bolton. And Barry said to me, do you fancy a drink? He knew that was the click of, okay. So we actually left the stadium, went across the road to the, there's like a big, I don't know if you've been to Bolton, there's like Reebok, there was a pub or like a TGI's. Yeah. So we went and sat in TGI's and then there's like a few brandy and cokes and that, as you do. And then we're watching the game in there. And as we're watching the game, the camera's panned to the box all the Fulham players are in. So it scanned the whole box.
Yeah.
And then that was it. We didn't think nothing of it. So we get back on the coach, drive back to the hotel. Tigana'S waiting at the front door. And me and Barry the lads are like, you lot bet not speak to him because you stink of brandy and coke. And Sean, you do smell a little bit like Benson and Hedges. And I was like, I was prone to a cheeky
he was famously anti-catch-up, so he's not going to be wanting you to have
But the cigarette for him wasn't a problem because all the French players smoke. I used to see Sylvain Legwinski sitting in the corner of Wimbledon Village with an espresso and those horrible red Marlboro Lights every afternoon. Leggy. Oh, wow. But yeah, so we get back. We're both avoiding him to try and not speak to him. And he's like, with his toothpick, I see all the players. Where was you two? I was at the back of the room. He knew. But I thought he kind of let us off. But literally, we had Huddersfield a day later, and I knew I was on the bench. And then when I got in there, my name was on the starting lineup. I was like, oh no.
So at this point, how much sleep had you had? Would you say?
Yeah, not that much.
Yeah.
And the problem is, me and Barry both shared a room, and we both snore. So whoever got to sleep first had a great night's sleep. A great night's sleep.
The other one didn't.
Yeah.
A race to sleep.
But I remember that. Yeah, we ended up winning that game. I think Boa scored a great goal, and yeah, all good.
Oh yeah, just loved that, and loved the fact that, you know, even to this day, him and Barry are still such good friends.
Yeah,
and
beautiful.
Yeah, really great. And so obviously we're going to win Huddersfield the next game to secure promotion as well. Saha and Boa Morte goals, which you know, I suppose was expected then at this point. Would have been weird not to.
Seemed fitting, didn't it? The three of them score about 60 odd goals between them in the league that season. Saha, Hayles, Boa Morte.
Unbelievable. I mean, when does that happen in a team these days?
And the goals for the front three, and I mean, they seem to score almost all the goals. I was surprised just Sean scored as many as he did, but he did score a few that season as well. But I mean, it was tremendous front three.
You were saying while we were watching that clip, actually, Dave, that all the teams that got promoted have stayed up as well. It's like a strange anomaly.
For 10 years. I mean, Blackburn and Bolton and ourselves were all in the Premier League for 10 years, at least unbroken.
Yeah.
Allardyce is Bolton, obviously Blackburn under various different managers, but they, you know, Souness won the League Cup with Blackburn. It was a strong league.
Yeah.
We didn't just win, you know, an average championship. We won a good, by a mile. We won it. We got 101 points.
Yeah.
We won it by a country mile, and it was a good, strong league. And the second and third teams were good sides as well. So I think that probably adds to how special the season was.
Definitely.
Really.
What do you remember about the last day, the celebrations here, the last game?
I think I was at it. The last home game.
Yeah, last home
It was a Wolves game. No,
Wimbledon.
So Wimbledon wasn't.
Well, I remember Wolves was that was.
That's
very
right.
late on.
Yeah.
So very late on, after we've won the title, we play Wolves at home. And Morgs, who obviously would have been in mid-30s by then, but he's the guy who's the only, as I reminded him, he is the only man in history to captain Fulham to relegation to the bottom division of English football. So it was very nice that he played a very small part, at least, in the promotion season back to the top flight.
Definitely.
And what a player he was, what a man he was for the club. So that was a special one. He comes off the bench towards the end of the game against Wolves.
Yeah.
And then the final game of the season is Wimbledon. The final home league game is Wimbledon. I wasn't at that match, I must admit, but the memories are more of the Sheffield Wednesday match.
Right.
Blackburn was so memorable.
Yeah.
That was the day we knew it was a done deal. But Sheffield Wednesday going to win the title and Sean scoring again.
Sean scores again.
Yeah.
It was special. Sean was, as I say, he was the hometown boy, wasn't he? Sean. He was the academy kid. And it was nice that he pops up with a couple of the biggest goals in the season.
Yeah, definitely. And then to know, you know, obviously we know what then goes on to happen. He represents us in the Premier League, and to then have that, to have represented a club in 4 tiers of football.
Yeah,
I mean,
incredible.
when has that happened? Can you think of another club where something like that's happened and to be playing at such a high level?
It's going to be very rare to have. I think one of the Luton boys did it.
Really?
I think
that's incredible.
Right, okay.
It's very rare. I remember thinking of Sean when Ruddock at Luton had done it, and when they went up for the divisions quite quickly, and played in the Premier League for them. But yeah, it's very, very rare. Sean's, you know, as we know, any Fulham fan of the last 25, 30 years, you know, remember Sean extremely fondly.
Yeah. What do you think the legacy of that? Do you think what's the legacy of that team? What do you think it's the best Fulham team you've seen? How do you think it will continue to be remembered for another 25 years?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it was the most dominant Fulham team. We were playing second tier football, so whether I reckon probably man for man, if they played each other, the Hodgson team might have beaten them, but they weren't as entertaining.
Yeah,
no,
they had their moments, but they weren't. People from outside Fulham wouldn't remember that team as a gloriously entertaining team.
Yeah,
they were special to us. We got to a European final. And then the silver promotion team, in some ways, it was quite similar. In 2022, and there were the 3-7-0 wins. There were some really big wins,
6-1s
but actually
as well,
we were quite a few points behind. I think it was probably 10 points less. I think something like that.
We were trying to work that out. We didn't break
100
100
points that season. And that was it felt very similar. Living that with my son, the Silver season was like, this is like I kept saying to him, this is like the Tigana season. This is like the Tigana season.
Yeah.
But I think the Tigana season, just you can look at the league table and the points tally, and the Tigana team was better. So yeah.
What's nice is obviously Sean's here a lot on match days as now. He does the lounge and does a lot here at the club, which is wonderful. And often like I'll ask him, or I can't remember if we asked on the pod this, but like, which players out of this team, out of the Marcus Silva team would make it and, would get in the all-time 11, and he's not having any of it.
None of them, no.
Like, he's so loyal to it, and he was like, "No, who are you taking out? No one. No, absolutely not." And you're throwing in names like, "What? Come on, like
and Saha play up together, wouldn't you?"
Yeah. Oh, that'd be amazing, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be amazing?
But I think you'd have more of a Tigana team than the Silver team if you're going to have a composite 11 of those two sides, wouldn't you?
I think so.
I will know forever that they got 101 points and finished first because my PIN code was 1011 for years, and that's how I remember it. Yeah, still is actually. So account number is 01.
And your email address that you were emailing?
That'll be Eddie Lewis at gmail.com. Give him a shout.
I wonder, do you know what? Genuinely, hand on heart, we'll drop him an email. Ask.
Maybe I will, but it's actually from my old Hotmail. I will. Yeah, what has happened to Eddie?
I've not heard of him for many years.
Right, okay, there you go. Add that to Finding Steve.
Eddie, get in touch.
Was he still at the club? Was he in the celebrations?
Great question. He ended up at Preston.
Jeff,
Leeds.
he got to Preston, didn't he?
Yeah, Leeds.
Yeah. Jeff's on it.
Jeff's on it.
He was there. He started on the first day of the season, so he was very much part of it.
Let's conclude this episode about the Tigana team with the question that everyone wants to know: what happened to Eddie Lewis? Jeff's googling it now.
Yeah. It's just tense.
Jeff, come on.
Does he still have the same email?
So he actually signed for us this season. He must have been a Bracewell signing. Signed in March 2000.
Okay.
And released or sold or released?
I think he went to Leeds.
He went to Preston.
Preston, there you go.
But yeah, it's not until we were in the Prem. So
lovely guy.
With us. Yeah, there we go.
Lovely guy.
Yeah.
You
helped him a lot, mate.
David Beckham was the English Eddie Lewis.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, exactly. And he shouldn't forget that.
Dave, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, honestly.
We should do another season at some point.
Yes, let's do that.
Yeah, man, love that. Come on, Fulham.